In this video, we are focusing upon Celtic designs. Now, ourselves making love spoons and being here in Wales, a Celtic nation, we use a lot of Celtic designs. So as always, to start off, we prepare our wood and our designs. So we're gluing two pieces of wood together, a piece of mahogany and a piece of oak, that will be used for the smaller designs. We then mark the design onto the wood using carbon paper, and we then go across to our scroll saw and start cutting out our shape. Now, the first item that we're demonstrating to make is a tresclian, and hopefully I pronounced that one correctly, and this is going to be turned into a necklace. So we cut the outline on our scroll saw, we then sand it down on the belt sander, and the idea is to sand at an angle. We want to be able to see both the oak and the mahogany on the front of our jewellery item. Once we've sanded it down, we then bore a little hole in the top using a spike and twist in a little ring, a little eye, and this will be used to thread our necklace loop, our leather loop through. After we put the loop on, we then add 3 coats of shellac sanding sealer, followed by a final finish of beeswax mixed with linseed oil. Put that necklace loop on and we're done. On to our next item, and this is a unique design. We start off again, slightly different method this time. We mark the design onto the wood using glue, so we've actually stuck the design onto the wood itself. After that, we drill all of the holes for our pierce work, and in between the twist on the outside that will be used for doing the hand carving. Once we've prepared that, we're on to our cutting out stage on our scroll saw. So we begin by doing all of our pierce work. Now, the item that we're going to turn this into is a jewellery box. We're actually going to demonstrate 2 slightly different styles of jewellery box in this demonstration. The wood that we're using to make this item from is mahogany. Basically, we have a lot of scrap mahogany that has been recycled and has had little use. It's too small for us to make our love spoons from, so it's ideal for making a box. Now, what we're also doing is we're making a backing board, so you could see us sticking our backing board onto this item, which will basically become the lid of our box. So we've done our pierce work on our top layer, our piece of mahogany, stuck down our piece of oak, and then we go back to the scroll saw and cut the outline of the top of our box. We then go on to working on the main body of the box itself. So we cut the outline, cutting around the outside of the box, the jewellery box, and then afterwards we will drill a hole and do the pierce work, so cutting out inside the box. Again, the main body of the box is a piece of mahogany. All sorts of little scraps of wood that are too small to make love spoons from, but ideal for making smaller items like the jewellery, the key rings, and little trinket jewellery boxes. Now, a new piece of equipment that we haven't demonstrated on our videos previously is our oscillating sander. Really useful piece of equipment and ideal for this project to sand out the inside of our box. Now, once we've worked with our oscillating sander, we then have to think about how the lid of the box is going to sit inside the main body and also make a base. So once we've cut out our base, we then super glue that to the main body of the box. Now don't worry if there's a little overlap, we then use our belt sander just to sand it nice and smooth so everything is nice and even. We then go on to our hand carving, and the carving that we're doing on here, it's a symbol that is referred to as the Celtic symbol for true love, a popular symbol on our love spoons. It looks similar to another Celtic symbol for new beginnings, but there is a slight difference. So we do all of our detail carving that symbol down into the woods, and then go on to the twist around the outside. So we've got that continuous Celtic twist representing binding and growing together. And this is why we love working with Celtic symbols, is because they have such meaning. So when we use them with our love spoons, they give the love spoon a natural story and meaning. So we always feel that there's a natural fusion between Celtic designs and the love spoon tradition. The nice part of this process then is as you're doing your carving, you're getting rid of that paper drawing that you've drawn on there, and you see the beautiful character and grain of the woods. We then super glue a little plate that goes on the back of the lid, and the purpose of this is to secure the lid to the main body of the box. We then move on to the finishing of our item. So again, adding 3 coats of shellac sanding sealer to all parts of the box, and then a finishing coat of beeswax mixed with linseed oil. On to our third item, and again we are using this symbol, this Celtic symbol for true love. A beautiful symbol, and we're mixing aspects of the first 2 projects together. So we're using that symbol from our second project, the box, but we're also using that technique of 2 contrasting coloured woods. So you mark your design out, do the drill holes for the pierce work, and then cut everything out on your scroll saw. Because this is a smaller item, I would suggest doing the pierce work first of all. Just means that you've got a slightly bigger piece of wood to grip whilst you are trying to do that pierce work. So we've drilled those holes, and then you feed your scroll saw blade into the holes and take away that waste wood that you don't want. As we always say, it gives you that lovely contrast where you have the light and the shade, because you have the aspects of the design and the pieces then that are cut out in between. You have that extra contrast because we're using those 2 different coloured pieces of wood. In this case, we put our oak on the top and then the mahogany on the bottom. This means that as we carve the design, as we're putting that detail in, we carve through the top layer and reveal a part of that bottom layer. Again, giving you beautiful contrast between our lighter coloured oak and the darker coloured mahogany. So we're on to our hand carving now, and we just give the design, the keyring, its detail itself. Once we finish the hand carving, again, we're on to the finishing. So we add those 3 coats of shellac sanding sealer, rubbing it down with a finishing sandpaper in between, and then a final coat of beeswax mixed with linseed oil. The final part of making this keyring then is to just put that loop on the top so it can be hung on your keys. So we put a little triangular clip, tighten it up with the pliers, and add that loop on the top. Now on to our next project, and again we're borrowing an element from our second project because we are making a box. It's a slightly different style of box, and we'll get onto that in a minute. So we drill our holes again for doing our pierce work. We then go on to our scroll saw. So we cut, in this case, the outline out for the lid of the box, and then we work on the main body of the box. The difference with this design is we've decided to make the body of our box the same shape as the lid. So we scroll saw all of those lines, we marked it out before we started using the lid, and then we do the same on the inside, is to shape the inside of the box. So this is a slightly more complex process and design than our first box. So as you can see, we just shape the inside of the box itself on the main body of it. Again, we are working in a piece of mahogany. Now, there is a reason why we have done these two different styles of boxes. And we have an upcoming video, and the idea of it is to give you almost a behind the scenes look. Because the projects that we do, we share with you the methods and the techniques that we use to make our products. And this can create an impression that everything is straightforward, everything goes to plan, and we make things with a degree of ease. But as with everything, there are issues that happen along the way. So our other video will share with you some of the issues that happened during these projects. So as you can see, we stuck the base to the box itself, and then we focus our attention once more on the lid. So we go back across to our scroll saw and start working on the pierce work. The centerpiece of this design, as you can see, is a Celtic cross. As we mentioned, Celtic symbols, they're very powerful and very meaningful. They have beautiful messages within them, and they are beautiful designs as well. As we've mentioned previously, we have a page on our website, and that is dedicated to offering designs that we have shown. So if you're interested in any of these designs and having a go at making any of these products, you can head over to that dedicated page. There is a link in the description below, and you can have a go at making these products yourself. Back onto our lid, and we're working on the hand carving. So we hand carve the twist around the outside. We do some detail work and some shaping of our Celtic cross as well. And then we move on to the scroll saw once more. So what we are working on our scroll saw is to create a plate to just sit on the base of the lid, on the bottom of the lid, and this will be used to contain that base, to keep that base fastened to the main body of the box. We then cut out a backing plate in a contrasting coloured piece of wood. So the box we've made in mahogany, and our backing plate we are making in oak. All reclaimed woods and all recycled from different things like furniture that people no longer want. We then add our super glue to our feature on the top of the lid and stick our feature to that contrasting piece of wood. It acts for two different purposes. Firstly, it means that the light doesn't shine through into the body of the box, and it also contrasts our feature to really bring it out and make the top of the box really stand out. Once we've done that, then we go on to our finishing. So the same as the other processes, adding 3 coats of shellac sanding sealer to all parts of the box, rubbing it down in between each coat with a finishing sandpaper, and then that final finish of beeswax mixed with linseed oil. So now we go on to our final item, and this is probably my favourite of the 5. We're saving the best until last. So we start off by marking the design onto the wood itself. So we're gluing the item onto the front of our woods. We then go on to drilling those holes ready for doing our pierce work, and also for the insides of that continuous twist that is going to add the outline of our item. Now, After that, we go on to our scroll saw, and we're doing our pierce work. So what we're doing, we're getting a little bit of separation between where the clock movement for our clock will sit in the center of our item and the twist that will create the surrounds. So using those drill holes that we've drilled, we feed the blade through and cut out all of our pierce work. Once we have done the surround, we then go on to cutting out the block that will create the space that our clock movement will sit in. So just cutting that surround and then onto the gap for the clock movement. Now, whilst our scroll saw is accurate, you'll see later on we will still need to do a little bit of shaping work for that recess for our clock, just to get it absolutely spot on. We then go on to working on the outside of our clock, cutting in the one direction to get the shape for our continuous twist, and then back the other way just to tidy all of the cuts up afterwards. Onto the hand carving, and we're starting to work on our Celtic twist surround, giving it its depth. And the idea, the process here, we're trying to give it that effect of it going under and over. So the twist looks like it continuously goes under and over, like you get in the Celtic designs. So I hold it in a vise so I can get both hands onto the tool itself, do all of the carving in the one direction. I then turn it around in the vise and carve everything in the opposite direction. So as you see, we've got a paper drawing that is stuck onto the wood itself. As you're carving, you reveal the wood and that beautiful character and colour of the wood itself. The wood that we're using for this particular project is a piece of juniper. We've actually sourced this one then from La Mancha in central Spain. A beautiful wood with a beautiful perfume, and one that we've demonstrated on a number of our projects. So the carving process, as you can imagine, takes a little bit of time, but it reveals all of that beautiful wood underneath. Once we have finished with our carving process, we then go on to our oscillating sander again, and this is ideal for shaping the recess that will be filled by the clock movement. So just sanding that shape just to get it spot on so our clock movement will sit right in the center of our clock design. We're then on to our finishing. So again, we add 3 coats of shellac sanding sealer, rubbing it down with a finishing sandpaper in between, and then a final coat of beeswax mixed with linseed oil. So there you go, those are our 5 Celtic themed items. Let us know in the comment section which one of those is your favourite, which one do you plan on having a go at making yourself. If you enjoyed that one, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell so you know when we'll upload another video. And as we always say, thank you again for watching.